So we'll start our discussion as far as module 2 is concerned, that is income from salary. We'll directly move to the next slide, that is contract of service. Okay. So this is what I was talking about. You need to understand that before we judge any income under the head salaries, it is very important for us to understand as to what is the relationship in which this money has been occurring. Is it a contract of service or is it a contract for service? When I am working as a professor in this particular college, it is a contract of service. That means continuously I have to come here, do my duties and then go. There is a relation between employer and employee. So it is a contract of service. On the other hand, I give you an example, something goes wrong with your house, you call up a plumber, you call up an electrician, okay, he does some work for you, you pay him, he goes out. That is contract for service. Okay, so there is a difference in understanding these concepts, and that is the reason it is very important for us to understand that before we judge that this particular money that is been earned under, if we have to categorize this as a salary, we have to check, is it a contract of service or is it a contract for service? We'll just quickly go through the points as to what we have to discuss. First of all, under the head contract of service, there has to be a master and there has to be a servant. Okay, that means there is someone who is above you and there is some person who is below you, in a condition that the master tells or orders everything for the servant. Okay, so there is a relation between a master and there is a relation between a servant. Clear? In such case, whatever money is been paid, you can call it as salaries, you can call it as wages, or you can call it by any other name, it will always be termed as income from salary only. Okay, even if it is taxable, it is in non-taxable, that is immaterial, but it will be categorized as income from salary because there is a master who gives clear orders what has to be done, and there is a servant who has to follow these orders and execute those particular orders. So there is a relationship between master and servant. That is the reason any income that is been earned in such a way of service is called income from salaries. Next point, if you see third point, master has the right to control the method of doing work. When I am teaching you, I am been told that you have to teach in a particular way. So I cannot devise my own fancy ways to teach you, right? So whatever rules have been laid down by the institute, I have to follow them. So there is a tight procedure or there is a strict procedure in which I have to follow the rules and regulations. As such, I need to obey all the orders. Okay, and if I do not obey the orders, definitely appropriate action would be taken against me. Clear? So there is no there is a binding between me and the college authorities. So I have to fulfill that particular duty, only then I will be able to earn salary. On the other hand, when it comes to contract of service, okay, when it is a contract of service, there is a person, okay, we call him as the principal has the power to appoint a service provider. That means not this principal, in general, any person who appoints somebody to do something, he is called as a principal. For example, suppose something goes wrong with your car, you call up a mechanic. In such case, you are the principal and that particular mechanic is a service provider. Clear? So it is a contract for service. Whenever there is a contract for service, it is called as professional charges to be paid. It is not called as salaries, it is professional fees, charges. Okay, you can call it by any name, but it will be called as professional fees that has to be paid. Why? Because that particular person has technical superiorities more than you, and that is the reason he's been called on to do that particular work. Clear? That is how we have to define this. I think there's some doubt here. Somebody has a doubt? Murali, see, whenever you are chatting, see that you chat to that particular person. Don't chat in public. Okay. Next is professional or technicians is not
Sorry,
subject to
sir.
direct control. For example, uh, when you call up a mechanic to repair your car or repair your two-wheeler, do you tell him what to do? If you tell him what to do, then why do you need that particular person? You can very well do it as on your own. Because you don't know and he's more technically qualified than you, that is the reason you call him. So you cannot instruct a service provider, you cannot give a direct instruction to the service provider. He will use his own brain, he will use his own technique to solve that particular problem for which you pay the charges. So you need to clearly understand what do you mean by contract of service and what do you mean by contract for service. Contract for service is called income from business and profession. Contract of service is always called as income from salaries, and this is what we are going to focus on. Am I clear on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next. Now, these are some, sorry. These are some incomes which are called as salaries, but they are not actually salaries. Okay. Let the train pass by. I'll just mute it in the meantime. So, here these are some examples. We call them as salaries, but they are not actually salaries. Now, what are those incomes is what I'm going to just discuss. These are examples of incomes that are not called as salaries. For example, a remuneration received by a member of parliament. Okay. Whenever you attend a parliament session, for every time you attend the parliament session, you are paid some fees. Okay. So this is not the income for the MP. That it is called as the word salary, but it is never taken into account that it is a salary. It is always taken as fees. For the simple reason, parliament will not function 12 months in a year. Point number one. Second, it is not a full-time job. That is the reason any money received by a member of parliament will always be called as salary, but it will not be considered as salary when it comes to income tax. It will always be considered income from other sources, right? Next, honorarium received by visiting doctors. See, whenever doctors go to some other hospitals to perform certain surgeries or to perform, or to do their duties, they are paid a certain amount of money on every visit that they make. This is not a salary, but this we call them as honorariums. Even if their visits are regular, it will still not be called as a salary, because a doctor by nature is a profession, and we cannot club profession under the head salaries. Okay. Next, remuneration received by a chartered accountant from ICAI New Delhi, that is the head office of ICAI, okay, for examining papers. Now, what is the job of a CA? To maintain and audit accounts and to help people in their taxation. That is the work of an chartered accountant. Now, if a chartered accountant, apart from doing all this, if he also examines papers of CA final exams, then whatever services he renders will not be called as income from salaries, but will be considered as income from other sources. So these are some of the examples that I've mentioned. Though they appear as salaries, they are not actually salaries. Okay. So just go through this. If you have any doubts, I'll explain to you, because explaining each and every point here, it takes a lot of time. So just go through this particular slide. If you have any doubts, please raise your doubts so that I can clarify.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, I have a doubt from the unit one, sir, residential status. Can I ask that, sir?
No, you ask me later. I'll give you extra time, but let us know.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah, anyone else has any doubts here?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, our previous sem account, sir, Deshpande, sir, he received a salary, right? Then will it be considered as salary or a fees?
No. First thing is he a full-time employee?
No, sir.
No, he is not a full-time employee. Okay. So what he has done, he has rendered his services here. He's a profession. He's a professional, right? He's teaching his job.
No, sir.
Apart from doing whatever he does, he also does teaching, for which he got paid, right?
Yes, sir.
Apart from whatever auditing and filing of returns that he does, he also enjoys teaching, and that is the reason he taught you, for which the college authorities paid him. Clear? It This
Yes, sir.
amount
Yes.
will not be called as income from salaries, but this amount will be called as income from professional services.
Okay, sir.
Okay, because there is no employer and employee relationship. Principal sir did not tell him how to teach accounts. He taught accounts the way he wanted. So there is no control by the principal on that particular person. And that is the reason there is no employer-employee relationship. As a result, he came here, he rendered his services for which he was paid. So it will be called as contract for service.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Right. Anything else? I want somebody to answer the last point. Last in the sense, the last main point. Remuneration received by a working partner, that point. Can anyone explain to me why this will not be called as income from salary? I want Gautami, Rohin.
So they
So,
don't have a
Yeah. Yeah, Gautami, go on.
so they don't have a relation of employer and employee. So partners, even the profit of the partners are exempted, sir.
So
The profits
exemption
which
means,
they receive from the
see,
yes, sir.
Gautami, we are not talking about profit of the partnership firm is exempted. Agreed. Profit from the partnership firm is exempted. I'm talking about salary. A partner is an employee, right?
No, sir.
Why?
Sir, he's not an employee, sir. It is an agreement of partnership firm, sir.
Agreed. But you have partner salary which is mentioned in your P&L account.
Yes, sir.
So on one hand, when you say that salary is paid to the working partner, how can you claim that it is not a income from salary?
So there are other partners also who are not working, and there are some partners who don't be considered as a partners, but they are only for the looking. matlab, they're just surrendering the services as a partner to the company, sir, to the firm.
Let us not compare. Gautami, you and me are partners in a particular company. Both are active partners.
Yes, sir.
Both have 50% share. Okay.
Yes,
Our
sir.
partnership is 50%. Okay. Both are working partners. Both of us take salary.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm making it very simple. Both are partners. Only two people. Both are active. Okay. And our share is only 50%.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
So we are taking salaries. So when we are taking salaries, why can't income from salary from a partnership be considered as income from salary under this particular head? Is my question. Yeah, Rohin, can you answer?
yes, so company is a different entity, whereas the members of the company are the different entity. And so each partner has a right to share in the profits of the partnership, sir.
Agreed.
They have an agreement, sir. They can.
My question is very simple. When you are
Yes,
preparing
sir.
a partnership account, you write salary to partners, right?
Yes, sir.
And you pay them
Yes, sir.
salaries.
So,
So
but
when you
that
pay
will
them
come in the
salaries,
profit.
why is income from salary? Why is it not considered? Why is it exempted?
So salary is not exempted. The profit is exempted, sir.
So see, this particular slide says examples of income not taxable as salary. The answer for this question is in a partnership firm, you don't know who is the employer and you don't know who is the employee. Clear? If me and Gautami are the only partners in that particular firm, there is nobody else. So we are employers also, we are employees also. So when there is no employer and when there is no employee, or you cannot distinguish between who is an employer and who is an employee, naturally that particular income will not be called as income from salary. This is the answer for it. Clear? In a partnership firm, if me and Gautami are the only partners and there is nobody else, only we two are the only people. So we are the owners also and we are the servants of the company also. Clear? In such case, there is no link to establish as to who is an employer and who is an employee. In such case, okay, any income that you draw from such firms will not be called as income from salaries. You can call it as income from profession, or you can call it income from other sources, whatever, but it will not be called as income from salaries. Okay, this question has repeated twice in your final exam for 3 marks, and every time this question comes, most of the students, I can say 90% of the students, answer it wrongly. Yeah, so that is the reason I have to spend time on this particular question. Okay. Yeah, any doubts here?
No, sir.
Shall we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this is what we need to study as far as salary is concerned. So we have to study the basic salary and what do you mean by consolidated salary. Next, we have to study all the allowances that are there. Okay. You have house rent allowance, gratuity, pension, provident fund, leave encashment, leave travel allowance. All these are allowances that are there. Then we also have to understand what do you mean by profit in lieu of salary. And last is, of course, what do you mean by perquisites? Okay, perquisites are nothing but extra benefits given to the employee by the employer just because you are the key person in that particular employer, in that particular firm. Like for example, you might be given a rent-free accommodation, or whenever you travel for any business purpose, you are permitted to stay in a 5-star hotel, or you are permitted to have an air travel, or for that matter, if the house is given, if it is your own house, and if there is a cook in your house, or if there is a maid in your house, or if there is a gardener in your house, if there is a driver in your house, the salary for all these people is paid by the company and not by you. All these things will be called as perquisites, and accordingly appropriate tax rules will be applicable as far as these conditions are concerned. So all this is what we are going to study as far as income from salary is concerned. Okay, so we'll start with the basic definition first as to what do you mean by salary. Okay, now I will not go through all the details. I want you to go through it under section 17 subsection 1. The meaning of salary has been clearly defined, so please go through this. Okay, if there is any doubt, only then I will explain to you, because otherwise if I keep on explaining, it will be a lot of time consuming affair. Go through it. Any doubts, let it be the most simple doubts. Okay, I'll be able to, I'll answer it. Just go through this. So any doubts up to this particular slide?
No, sir.
I want others also to respond, please.
No, sir.
Nali is there. Who else? Quickly, Narayan, any doubts?
Sir, can you explain 4th point?
Yes, please.
Hello.
Yeah, go on.
Sir, can you explain 4th point?
So you want me to explain? Okay. This one?
Yes, sir.
Any payment received in respect of leaves not availed. Okay. See, what happens is, every employee after he's made permanent or after his confirmation is entitled for leave, right? And now in one particular year you are eligible to take a certain number of leaves. Clear? Maybe for medical reason, maybe for casual reason, whatever. Certain number of leaves are available, right? If you avail those leaves, well and good, no problem. But if you don't avail those leaves, what happens? Those leaves get accumulated, right? Say for example, I'll give you a very simple calculation. Let us say that Narayan, you are tomorrow appointed in a company called Bata India. Okay, I hope you know Bata India is a footwear manufacturing company. You get employed in that
Yes,
particular
sir.
company. They pay you around 30,000 rupees per month as salary. In other words, 1,000 rupees is your salary per day. Very simple calculation. Okay. Now, in 1 year, you are eligible for, let us say, 15 days of earned leave. That means in one full year, you are eligible to take 15 leaves. For some other reason, you took 5 leaves and 10 leaves you could not take it, or you did not feel that they are required to be taken. Clear? At the end of that particular year, that is on 31st March 2021, okay, what the company does is they will say how many leaves has Narayan taken, how many leaves were eligible for Narayan? 15. Out of 15 leaves, how many leaves has he taken? 5. How many are balanced? 10. Now, since you have not taken those 10, the value of those 10 leaves is, okay, the value of those 10 leaves is 10,000 rupees. If 1,000 rupees
Yes,
per
sir.
day is your salary, 1,000 into 10 is how much?
10,000.
10,000. So 10,000 rupees, okay, of extra work you have done for the company. You are eligible for that leave, but you did not take it. Okay. So 10,000 is outstanding balance for you. So they will ask you, do you want money for those leaves that you have not taken, or do you want us to carry forward that leaves? If you say that I want encashment of leaves, that means I want to encash those leaves, what the company will do, they will pay you 10,000 rupees, and those 10 leaves that are outstanding, they will remove it from your account. So the fourth point says any payment received in respect of leave not availed, out of 15 leaves that you have taken, out of 15 leaves that you were eligible for, you took only 5 days of leave, 10 days of leave you did not take it. As a result, whatever money is there for those 10 days of leave will be encashed to you. So if it is encashed to you, it will form a part of your salary. So that is income from salary only. Understood?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else? Fine. If there are no doubts in this particular slide, let us move on to the next slide. Sorry. Okay. So this is section 17 subsection 1 talks about salaries. Okay. So these are different forms of money that we can receive as far as salary is concerned. Next slide basically talks about what are perquisites. So this section is section 17 subsection 2. Okay. So what are perquisites? Perquisites are nothing but things like, rent-free accommodation or accommodation at a concessional rate. Okay. Value of benefits granted to special employees. Employees obligation paid by the employer. So I'll explain to you the third point. Say for example, okay, you are working in a very good company, and that company says that if your child, okay, goes for higher education studies, that means above master's degree, if he wants to study something, okay, for that you might have taken a loan. Okay, there are some companies in India who say that if your children want to take higher education, okay, they can take higher education. For that, fees might be required, and you are not in a position to pay those fees. In such case, you can take a loan from any of the bank, okay, or any of the financial institutions. When you take a loan from such financial institutions, you are liable to pay the loan as well as the interest. But there are some companies who say that you need not pay the loan and you need not pay the interest. Okay, you just take the loan. Repayment of the loan will be done by the company itself. Okay, so that is called employees obligation. that is employee's loan is paid by the employer. In such case, whatever savings that you have done, that will come as taxable, and we'll come to that taxable part of it later. Okay, let us now understand what are perquisites. Yeah, just go through this, the concept of perquisites. Any doubts in this? Perquisites means added benefits. Okay, apart from salary, anything extra that you get, okay, which is not forming a part of the salary, anything extra that you get, that will be called as perquisites. Okay, for example, things that I've told you, like a gardener in your house, the salary is paid for the gardener is paid by the company. If you are receiving newspapers at your home, the newspaper bill is paid by the company. Okay, every month some of the employees will get Sudaxo passes to purchase groceries. That is a perquisite. Okay, next is, there are some companies who permit you to travel once in 4 years with your family to some destination in India. Once in 4 years, you are allowed to travel with your family to some destination. That entire expense up to a certain limit will be taken care by the company. Say, for example, if you want to go to any of the places, like if you want to go to Shimla and Manali, your total expenditure is coming to 50,000. Agreed. But out of 50,000, if 20,000 is paid by the company, okay, then that 20,000 qualifies as perquisite. Clear? So all these things are nothing but money given to you in one or the other form, okay, apart from your salary, will always be called as perquisites. Any doubts in this particular slide?
So that superannuation fund is exempt till 1 lakh, sir?
Employer contribution to superannuation fund in excess of 1 lakh. So anything above 1 lakh will be chargeable to tax. Up to 1 lakh rupees, it is exempted. Say,
Okay,
for
sir.
example, suppose you are working in a company called Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Okay, all employees there are eligible for superannuation fund of up to 10 lakh rupees. Right? So if HAL pays to every employee on retirement 10 lakh rupees, so up to first 1 lakh rupees there is no tax, but on the remaining 9 lakhs, okay, 9 lakhs will fall under the head perquisite. For under the head perquisite, on 9 lakh rupees you have to pay tax. Up to 1 lakh.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
1 lakh is exempted.
Yes, sir.
I can give you names of Hindustan Aeronautics is one, Bharat Earth Movers Limited is second, Bharat Electronics is third, ONGC, then you have Indian Railways. All these are companies which pay superannuation. Anything else? Okay. Next, what do you mean by profit in lieu of salary under section 17 subsection 3? Okay, so any amount of compensation due on termination or modification of your employment. Suppose you have been asked to leave the company for some or the other reason. Okay, in such case, what do companies do? They pay you next 6 months salary and ask you to leave. Okay, so you are receiving extra 6 months salary for which you have not rendered your services. So it is not a salary, it is called profit in lieu of salary. That means you have earned extra money because of salary. That is what we call as profit in lieu of salary. Generally it happens whenever companies want to reduce their workforce or reduce the employees, they pay 3 months, 6 months, 9 months salary in advance and they ask you to leave the company. In other words, when when 6 months advance or 3 months advance or 9 months advance salary is given to you, it is not a salary of this month, it is salary belonging to some months in future, but you are receiving it right now. So in other words, you are making a profit out of it. That's the reason it's called profit in lieu of salary. Similar example could be receipt from provident fund, okay, sum received under Keyman insurance policy, okay, and any sum received before joining his duties. In such case also, any money that you receive, it is called profit in lieu of salary. Okay. For example, you are been called to an interview in a company. Whenever you are called to the interview to a company, you are paid the flight ticket. Okay, you are asked to stay in a 5-star hotel, and a return air ticket is also given to you, right? So all things are taken care, before your selection is happening in that particular company. Before the selection is happening, all these expenses are being paid to you. So you have actually enjoyed those benefits even if before you have got your employment. That is the reason it's called profit in lieu of salary. Clear? So these are the three important points that I wanted to discuss. One is profit, one is salary, second is perquisites, and third is profit in lieu of salary. Next class we'll start with allowances. Okay, and allowances are quite exhaustive. We have to study allowances in greater detail. That means we have to study too many of allowances that are there available to us. Okay, yeah. If there are any doubts, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll stop it.
So,
Yeah.
so in the first unit, I have doubts. First unit.
Just 1 minute.
Yes.